This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we explore the city of Salem, home of the Salem Witch Trials, as part of our ongoing investigation into the question, are ghosts real? Right now, we're about to head out to some of the key locations that played a big part in one of the darkest blemishes in American history. And later, I may even present some theories as to why the witch trials may have happened.
That sounds about right.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. This is gonna be a blast.
Death, hangings, this has it all.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. In 1641, the Puritan legal code was created and established a hierarchy of crimes. Starting with the worst, the list goes idolatry, witchcraft, blasphemy, murder, poisoning, and bestiality. Let's jump forward to January 1692, when 9-year-old Elizabeth Parris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams began exhibiting strange behavior. Elizabeth and Abigail were the daughter and niece of Reverend Samuel Parris, respectively. Reverend Parris was Salem Village's first ordained minister. The two girls' behavior included making odd sounds and screaming, contorting their bodies, and throwing objects. Elizabeth and Abigail reported that an invisible being was biting and pinching them. 11-year-old Ann Putnam and other girls in Salem began acting similarly shortly after. Their behavior was attributed to supernatural causes, according to a doctor's diagnosis. Though, it's worth noting that there was only one doctor in Salem Village, and he could most likely read, but not write. On February 9th, 1692, the girls accused 3 women for causing their bizarre outbursts after Jonathan Corwin and John Hathorne, both magistrates, pressured the girls into naming the people afflicting them. And as mentioned before, Judge Jonathan Corwin's house is one of the places we're visiting today. So, this is the actual interior of the house back in the day. This is the parlor. This is apparently where he would discuss accusations.
In front of a big, cozy fireplace.
How are you feeling right now, Shane? Is this not cool to you to be in a place?
I love history, so.
Yeah, this is just history brought to life.
Yeah.
Shall we explore more of this house?
Yeah.
Rickety stairs. So right now we are in the master bedroom. This is where Jonathan and his wife Elizabeth would have slept.
If he could sleep at night.
He slept like a baby, to be honest. In his mind, he was doing the right thing.
Doing the Lord's work.
He was doing the Lord's work, exactly. I know you're not big on energy, but I mean, like, you kind of feel that there's.
You're nervous right now?
I don't feel amazing, let's just say that.
Right.
I mean, just considering all the things that happened. But you don't feel like a little strange that like one of the most notorious figures in the Salem Witch Trials slept right there?
It's neat. It's like being in Lincoln's bedroom.
You just compared Jonathan Corwin to Abraham Lincoln?
I mean, they both lived a long time ago.
That's literally the only 2 things they have in common. Returning to the 3 accused women, 2 of them, named Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne, both professed their innocence and would eventually die as a result of the trials. However, the other accused was a woman named Tituba, the slave of Reverend Parris. Strangely, unlike the other 2 accused women, Tituba actually admitted to afflicting the girls, saying, quote, "The devil came to me and bid me serve him," end quote. So right now we're looking for the foundations of the former house of Reverend Parris, his family, and his slave Tituba.
So this is sort of where this was a hotbed.
This is where it all began. According to a plaque that we found on site, it was in this house in 1692 that Tituba, Reverend Parris's slave, allegedly told the girls household stories of witchcraft. It's worth mentioning that there are some who believe Tituba was forced to confess and thereby fabricated her testimony. Regardless, Tituba's testimony is the longest in the entire Salem Witch Trials. She also detailed visions of eerie animals, including red cats, yellow birds, and black dogs. Perhaps most importantly, Tituba added that other witches were also working to harm the Puritans in Salem. With this startling confession, the trials and accusations vaulted forward, giving them a purpose and mission. Tituba was also very accommodating to the judges and claimed to go blind at one moment, a sign that the devil was punishing her for speaking so candidly about him. This showed she was at least trying to fight him. After spending a year and 3 months in jail, Tituba was not indicted and was the very last of the accused to be released. Skipping forward, the infamous Special Court of Oyer and Terminer was established by Governor William Phipps on May 27, 1692. 8 girls from Salem were afflicted with witchcraft and making accusations. In the court, someone would warn that a witch was about to manipulate a victim, and then the victim would begin to act strangely. In the first trial of this court, Bridget Bishop, an older woman of the community that many considered to be an immoral gossip, was determined guilty of witchcraft and later became the first person executed in the Salem Witch Trials. Between the months of July and September 1692, 18 more people were found guilty and executed, including 4 men, a rare occurrence in witch trials of the past. One of the accused men was a man named George Burroughs, a Harvard-educated minister who was accused by other alleged witches from Andover of being their mastermind. The claims made in court against Burroughs ranged from bizarre to batshit. The accusers claimed that he was biting them during their testimony. Their bite marks allegedly matched up with Burroughs' teeth. Many people in the court, not just the accusers, claimed to see spirits in the room. One girl claimed the spirits were faces of Burroughs' deceased wives, colored as red as blood, and thirsting for justice to be served to their husband. Finally, the possibility that Burroughs had used an invisibility cloak given to him by the devil was suggested by the Chief Justice. Before being executed, Burroughs made an emotional speech where he recited the Lord's Prayer without any mistakes. Witches were not supposed to be able to do that, which sowed the seeds of doubt in the crowd gathered. On October 3rd, 1692, Increase Mather implored the court not to consider spectral evidence in the trials. Around the same time, Governor Phipps's wife was brought in for interrogation. If you'll recall, Governor Phipps was the man who created the infamous Court of Oyer and Terminer. After Mather's statement and Phipps's wife being interrogated, Phipps released some of the people jailed for witchcraft, halted all further arrests, and replaced the Court of Oyer and Terminer with the Superior Court of Judicature, which was not permitted to consider testimonies of spectral evidence. Overall, 20 people were executed in the Salem Witch Trials. 14 of the 20 were women, and only 6 were men. Though official numbers vary, it's possible that a further 13 people perished while in jail on charges of witchcraft. Oddly, all of the accusers were women between 9 and 20 years old. An unusual fact due to the fact that most witch trials saw men doing the majority of the accusations. Most importantly, none of the executed ever admitted to witchcraft. One interesting thing to note is that almost all of the people that were executed were not given a proper burial, and instead were buried in unmarked graves somewhere in the area. Where those graves lie, nobody knows. Some believe they may be buried somewhere on Gallows Hill. Nobody knows why the witch trials occurred, but there are theories, so let's quickly go over a few. The first theory comes from Harvard PhD student Emily Oster, who points to an economic explanation. In the Journal of Economic Perspectives, Emily Oster suggests that the Little Ice Age that lasted between 1550 and 1800 and intensified between 1680 and 1730 caused economic problems that encouraged the population to blame one another for their hardship. The second theory comes from Linda Caporail, that the afflicted girls could have been exposed to a kind of fungus called ergot, which can be found in grains like rye, which cause convulsive ergotism. Convulsive ergotism effects include hallucinations, which are apparently similar to that of LSD, muscle contractions that resemble seizures, vertigo, and crawling and tingling sensations. In addition to rye being commonly grown in the colony, the moisture in the air and the grain's lengthy storage time could have increased the likelihood of ergot infestation. However, the girls showed no other visible signs of this illness, which include disintegrating fingertips. The third theory is that mass hysteria played a part in the witch trials. It's accepted in most literature written about the Salem Witch Trials that some level of hysteria was at work in Salem during this time. The word hysteria is used throughout most descriptions of the Salem Witch Trials. The fourth theory comes from one of the people in the community at the time of the trials. A Salem merchant named Robert Califf accused Reverend Parris of exploiting the trials for socio-political gain in the community. He proposed that Reverend Parris forced his slave Tituba to admit to witchcraft so he could use the resulting paranoia to seize back his diminishing power in Salem Village. In the end, nobody knows for sure what caused the Salem Witch Trials, but what is known for certain are the unjust fates of the victims. In 1957, the state of Massachusetts apologized for the Salem Witch Trials. In 1992, 300 years after the trials, the Witch Trials Memorial in Salem was dedicated by Nobel laureate author and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel. After all these years, the questions remain. Are there spirits left behind from Salem's troubled history? Why did these trials even happen? Both questions may forever remain unsolved.